Looks good for 100, doesn't he? Looks good for 100. David Attenborough. We looked pretty bad for 56 last week, and then last night, Saturday night, for a wee while, we looked pretty good for 56. Are better than we had been, but maybe it's just that last extra bright flicker of the light bulb right before it dies, because 56 we're looking very, very. In fact, it's not happening. It's done. 56 is done for us this season. The Anthony Ralston squad number 56, isn't it? Hello, hello. Guten Abend, Wolfsburg. Herr Wolfsburg. Yeah, it's Rangers again. Yeah, Mr. Rangers here. Yeah, remember, we get us in, yeah? Yeah. Danke. Yeah, do you remember last week I was saying to you that was about the. I had to explain the phrase, you can shove that up your arse. It's a Scottish phrase. You shoved it, but we're talking about the 9 million you wanted for Scov Olsen for us to keep him, and I was saying you could shove that right. And we explained that to you. I explained it. Say, well, see if we did keep him for the 9 million, could you maybe do us a wee favour and take somebody off us as part of that? 10 million. Oh, you saw the game, right? You saw that. Aye, just Danny would be. Aye, okay. 10 German bombers. Aye, that is us that sings that. So 12 million. Aye, all right. We'll do that. Perfect revenge for Celtic as a football club 30 years ago, 1996. I'm in the main stand, the old main stand at Hampden, and it was my sister's worked for Ladbrokes. She was a regional manager for Ladbrokes, and she'd go as complimentary tickets. It's hospitality tickets. They were complimentary for her. I've told you the story about the final as well against Hearts. I was right next to the podium shaking hands with the players. Not a great day, one of my greatest days out ever. But equally good was the semi-final against Celtic, and we'd put them at the League Cup. Alan McCoy scoring the goal, doing the kind of up and down jogging the spot celebration up in front of the jungle. It was the North Stand was the only bit that had been rebuilt, rebuilt Parkhead at that time. And did we beat them in all 4 league games that season? But we certainly would put them out. We beat them in the league game, most of the league games, and we'd put them at the league race by that point in time as well. And the complimentaries my sister got, like she didn't know the layout of the main stand. And I'm looking at it, I think we might be, you had to wear a suit and all that. So, but other folk weren't taking that as seriously. It wasn't exactly a director's box at first. We're basically in the Celtic end of the main stand. And I'm like, and I was wearing kind of neutralish colours, a suit, a shirt that was kind of rusty orange. But I says to the steward, that says, this isn't going to work, mate. Early doors, this isn't going to work. And he's like, oh, I've actually got a couple of Celtic guys with complimentaries, and they're in the Rangers side. So he went and got their ticket, and to swap the ticket stubs. The guy said, you have to swap your actual stubs just for comfort. I always remember the Celtic guy crunching his up, put it on, for fuck's sake, grow up. But I couldn't really speak about behaving maturely when it got to the end of the game. Brian Laudrup scores the one he lobs. Alan McCoy scores in the first half, and then Brian Laudrup scores the one he lobs it up high, and it comes down into the pult one back. Celtic, Simon Donnelly late on, but it was the wee bit we get put in the main stand was all. Everybody's wearing suits and all that, looking like they're in hospitality. So, but it was all Celtic fans. It was kind of 75% Celtic fans in suits, and I worked a suit after we scored the first goal. But when we scored that second goal, I just jumped up at my seat, and I'm hugging my sister, and I'm going, we've put them out all 3 competitions. So the football, what goes around, comes around. Martin O'Neill as well, just the perfect person to deliver that this season as well. Celtic have put us out all 3 competitions. How you doing, folks? This is your fat ache immediate post. We thought we were going to Parkhead to try to stop Celtic winning the title, or at least our patronising pro-Celtic media did, and with Hearts getting one of the 3 results that are available to every football team that plays football in the league last night, a result that was available to them. We knew it was available to them at Fir Park. We knew that on Friday that a draw was a result that was available for Hearts against Motherwell at Fir Park. And Friday, the media knew that even before the game was played, even before Danny Röhl's pre-match presser on Friday, it turned out we were actually the only team playing at Parkhead today with a chance of being officially kicked out of the title race. Started Sunday thinking there's still a chance of the league. There's still a chance of the league, and I ended it thinking there's actually still a chance of us being in the Conference League. I went into the weekend knowing that we'd still a chance of the Scottish title for the first time in 5 years, and I'll go into Monday knowing we will finish third outside the top two for the first time in 8 years. Reaction pod coming to you in association with Jersnet. I think it's Craig and Jamie that are on Jersnet on Sunday night, so good luck to them. Check that out. I come to you in association with Jersnet and also with Trevor Eve. Trevor Eve, A Sense of Guilt. A Sense of Guilt with Trevor Eve, phenomenal. I loved that. It was that late 80s, early 90s, late 80s, I think. A Sense of Guilt's fantastic series there. It seemed very sophisticated for myself as a young man at the time, and of course Trevor, with Trevor Eve, A Sense of Guilt with Trevor Eve. That's the ongoing joke in The Trip. Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon. There's a few different series of the Trip playing versions of themselves, and the trip to Spain. One of them is the trip to Spain, and I've got a sense of guilt over saying that our trip to Spain was harmless. It was a perfect thing to do, because ever since we went to Spain, ever since we went to La Manga, it's 3 straight losses. We've lost every single game that we've played. It's pretty shitty, pretty crappy. That's Martin O'Neill's last Old Firm game at Parkhead. Was us beating them 2-0 there in 2005. Helicopter, was he changing direction? But it was definitely checking its sat-nav at that point in time. And Barry Ferguson had just kind of come back to Rangers, and he really started dominating the midfield as the game went on. We scored the 2 goal on Nacho Novo with a big lob and all that. But Danny Röhl, I thought he was the chance to be the first manager since Walter Smith to win his first 2 trips to Parkhead as Rangers manager, and it was that feeling with Hearts slipping up last night. It was set up that's actually making it easier for Celtic to win the title. Rangers fans, of course, saying on Friday, myself included, instinctively we felt we wanted Hearts to win that game because we felt the title had gone, our chance to win the title had gone. But it's always that thing, the minute that game finished, a draw last night with Hearts, I'm thinking, but maybe it's not unrealistic. The results aren't unrealistic that we need us now to actually win the league. Celtic haven't been great. Hearts aren't convinced. They're 66 years since they won the title, so, and they'll be feeling what happened to them 40 years ago is going to happen again. They'll be getting nervous. If we could win this game at Parkhead today, I thought to myself as I was walking into Morrison's first thing in the morning to get some supplies, and I thought if we could win this game at Parkhead today, there's every chance we could actually win this league. And I remember why Martin O'Neill's last game in charge of Celtic at Parkhead against Rangers, last Old Firm game, that was, we beat them 2-0. They came to Ibrox subsequently and won and beat us there, and it seemed to be out. But that was an unlikely title win. So this is going to be Martin O'Neill's last Old Firm game, you would imagine, as Celtic manager at Parkhead in his second. Well, it's this season. He's had 2 different stints this season. Maybe that's what's going to happen again. It didn't. It didn't happen again at all. My name's Alec Anderson. We skipped a light fandango and turned cartwheels across the floor. I saw Trevor Eve. The man himself, when I was down in York, going to see Gary Oldman in Craps Last Tape. Well, Samuel Beckett's a Craps Last Tape. Gary Oldman, now Sir Gary Oldman, was playing, and I love Gary Oldman, love Samuel Beckett, love Craps Last Tape. York's a decent place as well, but my wife had got me this great Christmas present, and I was down there, and we were hanging about outside. It was a lovely night. It was at this time of year. It was a really lovely night, early evening, and we're just kind of hanging about in York. We'd parked the car and that, had something to eat, and we're just dotting about outside the theatre, but the church and all that, the cathedral in York, crowds milling about. I'm like, that's fucking Trevor Eve. It was unmistakably Trevor Eve, and you're thinking, waiting to go and see Gary Oldman with Trevor Eve. Is he going to see Gary Oldman as well? Is that is that a humiliation for an actor who's well known? Trevor Eve. Everybody knows Trevor Eve, but he kind of gets a piss taken out of him on The Trip. And here is Gary Oldman, who's about to get knighted, who's kind of a cult figure in acting. Gary Oldman, method and all that. He's hard hitting and lots of hard hitting stuff. He's knowing a sense of guilt, but it's all middle class folk shagging each other in university and stuff like that. He's in, he's doing the kind of hard hitting stuff, none of which comes to mind at the moment. But he's directing Nil by Mouth and something that's vicious, horrific. He's had his own problem, his own demons, about 15 wives as well, and you're thinking. He's hardcore. He becomes like a doyen of British acting, world acting, an absolute legend. And is Trevor Reeve so comfortable in being the inferior of Gary Oldman that he's quite happy to go along to a theatre and watch Gary Oldman and people to see, let's Trevor Reeve coming to watch Gary Oldman? Or would it be a kind of awkward thing? He should go backstage and talk to Gary Oldman after it, and he's like, "Who are you?" I was in a sense of guilt. What? And I was. Is it that? Is it really? But is it like in the Espanyolification? The Espanyolification of Trevor Reeve in the acting community by getting. I only know Trevor Reeve because I'm a bit sad. Was Gary Oldman's got? But maybe he was going somewhere else. Maybe he was doing something else in New York. But I wish I'd asked him. I wish I'd gone up and just said, "Trevor Reeve, how you doing?" And he would probably say, "What's the favourite thing you've seen me in?" And I said, "A Sense of Guilt." That was fucking 40 years ago. I mean, all that stuff since then, mate. I know, but I just. So I don't know that situation. Skip the light, fandango, John cartwheels across the floor. I was feeling kinda seasick, but the crowd called out for more. The room was humming harder as the ceiling flew away. When we called out for another drink, the waiter brought a tray. And so it was that later, as the miller told his tale, that her face at first just ghostly turned a whiter shade of pale. I thought that song yesterday when I was putting on that white polo shirt that I wore for the preview pod that you'll know me from. My preview pod for this game on this podcast, and I put it on. The hay fever and that as well. I mean, I'm pasty at the best of times. I hate the sun, baldy ex-ginger, Scottish, So, but I put on a white t-shirt, and that really highlights just exactly how. But and it comes. It's just one of the lyrics, one of the things that comes to mind when you pull the shirt on and you catch yourself in the mirror, and you're like, oh, a whiter shade of pale. His face at first just ghostly turned to spit. I think it's also applicable to Danny Röhl's reign. Short reign this season, perhaps. We lost the first two games in the top six in the post split fixtures. We lost the two of them in varyingly horrific circumstances, and then it's as if Hearts just gave us a little hint that it might be a crazy old end to the season. We could still do it. If we could, or we could definitely cause Celtic a chance of doing it today. As if that was just to give us a final little, what had been pretty ghostly up until kick-off today, turned a whiter shade of pale in the old in that game. The whiter shade of pale, Procol Harum, famous song. But I always think I did say at one point, and there's been a few candidates for this. I keep changing it. That's what I wanted. That's my funeral song. That's what I wanted playing as the coffin went down or came in. Whatever. I'm not going to have religious ceremonies, whatever. But I wanted not just the whiter shade of pale because I'm a pretentious wanker. I wanted the King Curtis version. That's famously is the opening, used as the opening tune for With Neil and I, the Bruce Robinson film. That was filmed, came out in 1987 with Neil and I, kind of cult film, student-y film, whatever. It's just a brilliant film. Never mind the quotes and all that. It's just it's so quotable because you get so few films that are bloody quotable. Brought out an intelligent film, subtle film, and then it comes. But it was made in 1986, the year Hearts chucked the league to Celtic. But it was. And With Neil and I, of course, is set in the year 1969. It's made in 1986, but it's set in the year 1969. 69, that's the year I was born. So it's got a kind of piquancy for myself because of that. 1969 is also the year that Alec Ferguson failed to pick up Billy McNeil in the in the box at Hampden for him to head in one quite easily. Billy McNeil, Celtic beat Rangers 4-0 in the Scottish Cup final to claim the treble, only the second treble they'd ever won, but the second treble in 3 years. They'll be first to tell you, Celtic fans, they won a quadruple in 1967, the second treble season. They had a wee other trophy attached to it, but it's the King Curtis saxophone version. It's an instrumental, but it's not really instrumental because he's fucking talking to you. I mean, it's not even just. It's better than singing. It's more clear than actual spoken word. What he's doing with that thing, the saxophone version of A Whiter Shade of Pale, which was actually it's a live recording. So it's a live recording of A Whiter Shade of Pale, played on the saxophone by King Curtis and the Kingpins, and it was recorded in 1971. Which is actually a couple of years after the film is set. The setting of the film, it's a couple of years after the end of the greatest decade in the history of mankind, and that's the quote for Danny, the drug dealer in the film, one of the greatest characters in cinematic history. Personally, my favourite is Uncle Monty, but Danny, the drug dealer, Danny Röhl, Danny Röhl. After recording that live version, the version that's played in With Neil and I, King Curtis was murdered. He finishes that set of that recording, and I've got the CD. I've got the CD in the house somewhere. I got it in CD at some point years ago. That very concert, the very gig that he was playing at in New York, he comes out and he gets killed that night. That same night, he dies. 37-year-old, same age as Danny Röhl. And for years, I thought it was a car park outside, whatever club he was playing this set where he was doing A Whiter Shade of Pale. I thought it was a car park. He came out outside, and Paul McGann, who's playing with Neil, who it's him. It's just him in the film. He's the only figure in the film as A Whiter Shade of Pale plays in the introduction and at the start of the film over the titles, the opening titles. It's Paul McGann, and he's in the commentary, the DVD commentary. Remember, you used to watch stuff on DVDs. There was videos and it was DVDs. And I remember this years ago watching the commentary with Neil Nye, and it's him and Ralph Brown, the actor who plays Danny. They're doing a wee commentary and watching it, and it's at that bit, they're talking over the opening titles and that, they're describing this, and Paul McGann says, fun fact, if you like your trivia, King Curtis was killed straight after this, after he recorded this amazing version of Whiter Shade of Pale. He was shot in the face. I thought, all right, so he's shot in the face, and I had him shot in the face in a car park, and I think I've got this. He wasn't he? I've read up on it a few years later again. I read up on it, and King Curtis, the saxophonist, he actually get stabbed. He gets stabbed in his flat in Manhattan, or in the stoop outside his kind of brownstone, the apartment building that he stayed in Manhattan, and he was going back there after this concert, and it was his air conditioning kept blowing like the circuit breaker. The circuit is broken. He kept blowing the circuit breaker. It kept tripping. So he went down to the fuse box, which I think might have been outside, or it was just in the hallway for the whole building, to check that. And it was early in the morning. It was a guy standing on his stoop with his girlfriend. I don't know, it was a gang member or something, kind of a local worthy. Was standing there, and he's saying, I'm going to piss off. I don't know if he's getting in his way, but getting in the fuse box, but going to be. And the guy stabbed him. And he did. I only did about 6 years, get out early for good behaviour and all that. But he killed him. He's been stabbed. And I thought, where did I get this idea? His funeral, Jesse Jackson did his funeral. Aretha Franklin was there. Stevie Wonder. They're all singing. Sissy Houston, Whitney Houston's mother, she was there as well. Quite a funeral for. So I'm thinking, I want that played at my funeral. You know, I'm not going to get Stevie Wonder on that at my funeral, but I would like to play the King Curtis thing. You know, I don't know why I'm thinking about sad things and death and what have you, but I thought for years it was him. But where did I get this idea? I think it's partly for Paul McGann, but I think I might also have got it mixed up. Another kind of musician early death anecdote is Bobby Fuller of is it the Bobby Fuller 4? He didn't make it famous for guys. Folk of my generation, I Fought the Law, and the Law won. I Fought the Law, and the Law won. It was the Clash. I thought the Clash wrote that. I just thought it was Joe Strummer had written that one, but no, it's actually made famous for guys of my dad's generation by Bobby Fuller, and the Bobby Fuller 4. And Bobby Fuller was the lead singer, the lead guy, obviously, of his eponymous band, and he died at age 23. Even younger. He get killed in the 18th of July 1966, which was almost exactly 3 years. 3 years before I was born. He was only 23 years old, and he was discovered in the back of his car, parked in his mum and dad's driveway. He's probably that young, he was still staying with his mum and dad at the time. And it seemed like a kind of suicide. He was sitting in the back seat of his own car in their driveway, and there was petrol and his like gasoline in his throat, and it kind of burns in his face and all that, as if he'd been drinking as if he'd committed suicide by drinking petrol out a canister. Seemed like there was a petrol canister next to him, and the word on the street, the coroner kind of passed it almost didn't really know what had happened. Probably suicide, but it's hard to, the question marks over what actually happened. And the big rumour was that he'd actually been murdered. He'd played at this club in LA that night, which was owned by a kind of mafia guy, basically organised crime guys. I think the guy you've just started getting famous. Folk are trying to get money off you. Don't know if he's wanted try to get in on the deal. This and Bobby Fuller wasn't having any of it, and the guys basically go to my petrol station and just shoved gasoline, put the petrol pump down his throat, and filled him full of petrol, and killed him in that horrific way, and then tried to set it up so it looked like suicides. So I think I get Bobby's full of petrol was the wee thing. But he fought the law and the law won, etc. And I felt as if that was what had happened there. But King Curtis, White or Should I Pale, Bobby Fuller, I Fought the Law won. He made it famous first, but it was actually written, I Fought the Law. It was written by a guy who joined the Crickets after Buddy Holly was killed in the plane crash. And he was called Sonny Curtis. King Curtis. Sonny Curtis. Do you think that's get rid of the probably. That's White or Should I Pale, Procol Harum. And the thing with White or Should I Pale, Procol Harum, I always knew it's a fantastic song, obviously, a brilliant song. My dad's man of the 60s, kid of the 60s, he would play that when my sister and I were younger, and you'd hear that, you'd hear on the radio and the telly, and everybody knows White or Should I Pale, fantastic song. But then a few years later, as I do, I found out it was released in 1967. It's before I was born, a couple of years before, but I'm like, that's it. That's always attached. It's every time I hear White or Should I Pale, and that's how bad it is as a Rangers supporter. We're total small-minded bigots. No, it's because I'm just kind of a bit anal retentive with the football stuff and all that. White or Should I Pale, 67. That's the year Celtic won the European Cup and everything else. We lost the Cup Winners' Cup final. Normally quite proud of us getting to a European final, particularly losing one with a few key injuries to Bayern Munich in Bavaria. That'd be by a single goal in extra time. That'd be something to be proud of. But that season, it was overshadowed by what Celtic had done in Lisbon. So, and everything else they'd done in Scotland that season. I've always got in my head, it's 1967. I looked up, it was 12th of May, 1960. It basically came out 59 years on Tuesday. Procol Harum, White or Should I Pale. When the White or Should I Pale, I don't know if that's just maybe to do with like Celtic having a lot of white on their kits. It's maybe in my head. It's the reason to, but I feel as if it's actually, it's a bit of a privilege for me that I grew up. From the moment I was born, Celtic had already been champions of Europe. From the moment I was born, and I've had that as a Rangers supporter. As soon as I found out, I remember being my cousins in Kilburnie, Joseph McCluskey and Joe. She said, "You're younger than me, but you had this pennant up in his wall." And I've told you before, probably. There was a thing with 9 in a row. I'm thinking, what's that? And he's telling me, and I'm like, I thought we better do that. And the Rangers done that, no, and they never will. Well, we did, European Cup. What's that big thing with the big ears? That trophy there? I've never seen that before. That's a European Cup. We've won that. Use haven't we? And we still haven't. And it's quite an incentive. It's quite a good thing. Not a lot of football supporters in the world grow up and it's like, we need to win European Cup. Okay. The ones that the clubs that do contest the champions, the European Cup quite regularly, have got a lot of fans all over the world. That's the way it works, football. But it's quite a thing to grow up. Just the main ambition is you're going to a Glasgow Cup final and stuff like that. You're hoping you win it and it's great. There's 40,000 there at a Glasgow Cup final. But your ambition is so much more kind of cosmopolitan than that. Eventually, what I want always my whole life, and even when we're in the lower leagues, you're still thinking, but one day we've got to win the European Cup. One day we've got to win the Champions League. We've got to become champions of Europe. And it seems more possible because a team that you can, Celtic, that's the first time that's 10 games. That's the first time in 10 games that they've beat us over 90 minutes. So a club that you can regularly scale. We were the first team to beat them after they won the European Cup. Just like Scotland being the first team to beat England the same year after they'd won the World Cup. It's a derby rival like that, somebody you don't really fear, but you can. And it makes it seem more possible. They bastards can win it. We can definitely win it. That's actually quite a privilege. I think it's been a source of real frustration, but also real excitement, real joy, particularly in 92, 93 when we got there. But I think what's happened there is we got really slack, didn't we? We got being the establishment club. I'm running to Morrison's a day, and I'm first thing, it was about 10 o'clock in the morning or something like that, or till 10:30 when I'm coming back, and I go past Annie's Land Station to cut up Annie's Land Station to get. I'm just walking, but a Sunday morning exercise, you can't whack it. And I'm passing all these folk wearing green, and because another wee thing in my mind, like 67, no, green. No, we don't like green. We're Rangers. I don't know. Be suspicious of green, whatever it is. And yeah, I look at Celtic fans. They're going to the bloody game. You know, they're allowed to go. That's all that's happening here. Wake up. Obviously, Celtic fans. I'm so resigned to the fact that I'm not going to the game. It just exists on television for me. I temporarily forgot. Okay, lots of Celtic fans will actually be going for Annie's Land to go to the game, and they're going to Annie's Land. The aftershave, overpowering. These guys in their 60s and 70s. Very tidy. Celtic fans always very tidily dressed, but it's all total green. Very shades of green going on. Very smart in that. Heading up the steps up to Annie's Land Station at the tracks, and some of them are kind of running to catch it. And I don't track my runners. I'm a Rangers fan. We don't track runners at Rangers. But these guys are getting past me. They're trying. So that's what it is, though. Subjugated people, and Celtic fans are always telling you how society's against them and always has been, and everything's unfair, and that's. But that's subjugated people. Like immigrants, for example. They work harder. You get like evil bastards like Reform and all that are just appealing to the lowest common denominator. Reform, winning all the local elections that down south, and they're trying to say that immigrants are all lazy, and there will be folk just come over here to get benefits and that. But by and large, if you're in a different country or whatever, you feel you have to work harder to get. You're more kind of enterprising by nature if you've moved somewhere else. And they all seem to work really, really hard and get. So when they get a chance, like probably SNP government or something like that comes in, and suddenly they're not being held back, but subjugated by society. They're better set. They're ready to go because they're used to working harder. Now they've actually got freedom to go. They push it and they end up dominating. They end up totally dominating. And I was thinking, as a woman who works in media myself, I know you've got to try twice as hard. To just get half as far as the people who are in the patriarchy. You start off, you want to get noticed, you go to the gym and all that, keep yourself trim because you want to get noticed, maybe get moved on, and then you get to my age and that, and you just go to the gym and keep yourself trim because you want to not get noticed for being fat. You're trying to get unnoticed, and that's as a female in the patriarchy, I find myself, I understand the situation with Celtic supporters and what's happened before we had our chances. In the European Cup, we played in the European Cup about 3 times before Celtic had even qualified for Europe. And in 1960, we get to the semi-final. I think it was the 3rd time we'd been in the European Cup. Celtic, I think it was the following season they played in the Fairs Cup for the first time. That was your first entry into Europe, and we were in the semi-final. The final was at Hampden that season. Easy peasy. We're the establishment club. Iron Curtain, Bill Struth, all that. I mean, Scott Simon was the manager on that, but you know what I mean. It's going to be an absolute doddle, and we get 6 goals put past us in both legs in that semi-final. Now, by a team who then gets 7 put past them in the final at Hampden. That was a bit of a lesson, but it gets to 1965. We're in the European Cup again, and we get the quarterfinals this time, and we were so kind of cocky in that we're the establishment club, easy peasy, we win trebles and stuff like that. Nobody else wins trebles, and it was so cocky against Rapid Vienna that one of their players decided to break Jim Baxter, our best player's leg, our most creative player, because he was putting on such a display of establishment team laziness, just arrogance, just like Oxbridge, half of them, the ones that have got the rich mums and dads, somehow find a way to get through, even though they're thicker than most working class folk. It's that kind of thing with Rangers. I think we're the establishment club, we're the posh ones. Everybody's behind us, and we got a bit cocky. They broke Jim Baxter's leg, so even with that, we lose the quarter-final to Inter. Helenio Herrera's Inter, before they'd knackered themselves the way they were in 1967. I'll not be bitter. But they were much better. Their height, their peak, they were just retained. They were the holders of the European Cup, and this was them retaining it. But they only beat us by 1 goal over the 2 legs, and that was without Jim Baxter. And we're thinking, right, if Baxter be here, we'd have won the European Cup this season. No guarantee that whatsoever, but we thought we would have anyway. And so when Celtic won it in 67, it was still cocky though. It was still cockiness. I'm talking about the Bobby Fuller getting killed in the 18th of July 66. Rangers had just won the Scottish Cup, beating Celtic in the replay. Celtic had won the league. They were league champions in the summer of '66. But it was the first time in 12 years that they won the league. Only the second time since 1938. That nearly 30 years that Celtic had won the league. So we beat them, and we beat them in the Scottish Cup final replay. Kai Johansson, that. So it was like, that's fine. It's going to be fine. It's a temporary glitch. It's a temporary blip. It's going to be absolutely fine. And we thought that even when Celtic won the bloody European Cup, we thought, well, we came close, really, didn't we? A couple of seasons ago, they've got there first, right? That's annoying, but we'll get there eventually. A lot of Rangers supporters were quite pleased. All the Rangers fans tell me that they were like, nice one, and there was an Espanyolification going on there, where Celtic had only won. This was them after their second league title, or third by the time they picked up European Cup, since the 30s. Well, a lot of Rangers fans just kind of looking down their nose. They've got a big support and all that, but they're no a threat. It was Hearts and Hibs, the teams that we'd been fighting, Dundee and Kilmarnock, up until Johnston took over at Celtic as manager. That's the teams we were up against. So it was a kind of patronising, almost, you'll be fine. You're the Espanyol to our Barcelona. And it's going to be fine. And I think the Rangers board, Johnston, he was a Rangers supporter as a boy. He played for Celtic. But he wasn't good enough to play for us. He had to earn his living somewhere. And they've got a big support, so it's more shillings in his pocket kind of thing. It's better than going down the mines, but that's the only reason he captained them to a double. And now he's back as their manager, taking them to a quadruple that includes European Cup. If things don't work out under Scott, we'll just nip along there and we'll just say, Jock, come home. Just come enjoy. It wasn't gone, and it never happened. And then Celtic won 9 in a row and he got another European Cup final, and it's pretty much changed things to the point where what Martin O'Neill did today was finishing what he started in 2000, August 2000. What he's done in his last Old Firm game as manager, if it is to be his last Old Firm game as manager, I'm assuming it will be, is what he started in his first one all the years ago, and I remember it so well. This is institutionalised. Celtic are the establishment club. We've known that for a while, but Celtic are now, they're going to win the league this season, and that will be their 20th league title in 25 years. 20 league titles in 25 years. Celtic won we won the league, 99 and 2000 under Dick Advocaat. It was a treble and a double, and then O'Neill comes in, has Advocaat's number, blows them away in that 6-2 game, and they've won it by half that scoreline today, Martin O'Neill, and that was the start. They then win. He won 3 titles in his first 5 seasons here, Martin O'Neill, and then Gordon Strachan comes in, he wins 3 in the trot as well. We've got Alec McLeish taking 2 off Martin O'Neill, and then Walter Smith's back and he wins 3 in a trot, but then that's it. It's a Celtic 9 in a row. We win the league in 2021 for the second time in our history. Stop Celtic get to 10, but this is them. They've gone at 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. It's going to be 5 in a row. They're halfway to 10 in a row again. Celtic, they win the league this season. You never know, the Jambos might do the business, but because it's institutionalised, because it's an establishment thing, I don't really fancy Hearts' chances. 1923 to 1959, we won 20 titles between 1923 and 1959, like even taking out the 6 years that the Second World War was allowing for no properly competitive league football in Scotland. That's still 25. That's 30 years. That was 30 years to get those 20 league titles, and we've won 20 titles between stopping Celtic's previous 9 in a row in 1975. Under Jock Wallace, and won the league in 70, the treble in 76, and the treble again in 78. Then to wait 9 years of New Firm and Celtic dominance. Then it was one under Soonest, and then it was the 9 in a row for us, and what have you, and Dick Havoc. We won, basically, I think we've won 21 titles in my lifetime. We won 20 titles from 1975 to 2011, and that was 36 years. Is that right? 20 titles, 1973, and then 87 was title 4, so that's with 9 in a row, that's 13. 2 under Advocaat is 15. 2 under McLeish is 17. 3 under Walters 20. Aye, and I'm born in the middle of a Celtic 9 in a row. We won the title in 2021. I'm nearly 57. I'll be 57 in July, the month of death, and in my lifetime, Rangers have won 21 titles, and in the last 25 years, it looks like Celtic have won 20. This is establishment stuff, it's institutionalised stuff, and that raises a question for Rangers. What do we do to stop this? You know, when Alec Ferguson, who is the last guy to win, he lost Billy McNeil in the box at Hampden in the 1969 Scottish Cup final, and that was it. You'd never play for Rangers again. You know, and he maintains it's because his wife was Catholic, but who knows? Not a nice guy, Alec Ferguson, but a winner, definitely a winner. Eventually, he wins the league with Aberdeen 1980, 1984, 1985. He's the last guy to manage, the last manager of a non-Old Firm champion of Scotland. 40 years ago, when he went to Manchester United, they hadn't won the league for best part of 20 years. At 19 years, at 67, Man U won the league and didn't win it again until under Ferguson in 1993. But it was as almost famous as what we're going through just now. Just keep failing, just can't get that league title. Celtic are to us what Liverpool were to Man United, 60s, 70s, 80s in particular, into the 90s. And then, but Man United famously didn't get rid of Ferguson. It was 4 years they won the FA Cup. 86 he went down there, was it? In 1990 he wins the FA Cup to kind of save his job, and it's 93 before he actually wins the league. They've realised all the different managers are going through, everything they're going through, it's no working, it's becoming institutionalised second place stuff. Runners up at best. They'd been relegated in 74. That took a bit out of them. We know what it's like to be in the lower leagues. The question here is, do you blame everything on Danny Röhl? Is he just part of an ongoing process that's not really got anything to do with them? And maybe the thing to do is hang on to the manager. I don't think there's a lot of appetite for that amongst the Rangers supports. Sorry, folks, it's just the game, the team starts off. I mean, the first Old Firm game of the season with Nico Raskin completely absent from the squad, and a manager under pressure. That 0-0 at Ibrox back in, was it August? Was it? And the last Old Firm derby of the season, it's exactly the same situation. Nico Raskin, Ryan Nadiri, John Souttar all got muscle strains apparently. So that's your sports science. Some say that Chukwani or Barron on Friday were all, is it going to be Chukwani? Is it going to be Connor Barron coming to replace you? No, it's both of them. We're playing both of them there. Where is Oliver Antman? We keep saying, where's Oliver Antman? Why is he not getting a chance? Where's he? Well, he's starting in the right wing the day. He was actually out in the right wing in a 4-2-3-1 formation. Do John Sterling an absolute certainty to start? Nope, he's on the bench, and James Tavernier playing his 46th and final Old Firm game. Ryan Nadiri, we screwed him, it looks like, on Monday night, bringing him on to try and save our title bid. So this, you know, he's ruled by sports science, whining. You at least get that shoved up your fundament today. All that kind of bitching and moaning. Jack Butland, I'm a bit bitter about all the it's not working. I mean, Rangers aren't winning the league, okay, but we don't really know that it's not working at this point in time. That may be the best that was going to happen. We're going to get into the title race and come back. I think in the same week that you've seen reform hopefully peaking as a trough for society, getting all these seats down south. I mean, the idea of getting rid of immigrants, get rid of folk that are different colour, you know, a different religion. These weird, they're no Christians, says Tommy Robinson. Just look, see this north of the border. You know, I mean, we had to basically get Asian folk in here to distract us from the internecine stuff between all our Christians up here. You know, it's the idea that if you get rid of one, Protestants or Catholics, everyone's going to be a bunch of white Christians in a country. Well, look at Spain, all Catholic. They had an actual, I mean, that wee thing in Northern Ireland, and definitely the Irish had an actual civil war as well, once they kind of broke, back in the 20s and that. But, you know, in the 1930s, the Spanish had a full-on proper, so the whole Iberian Peninsula is Catholic, and they were still offing each other. I mean, Franco could have won that much quicker, the civil war, if you hadn't, every time he took a town or a region, he then spent a month genociding all the opposition. That's so the idea that everybody being the same religion and the same colour is going to make a difference. I don't know. It's fucking millionaires, billionaires. They just want to get your money after you know. See, that's what's happening. It's this whole thing of critical thinking is woke. I'm coming up with the phrase critical thinking to literally stop thinking critically, stop criticising us. You know, and it's working. People are going to boot critical thinking. That's what, and it's a Rangers fan. I'm getting all mixed up in my head. You see, it seems to be the same kind of lack of thinking, a same love of misery You know, these folk that are selling you this stuff, they are not miserable. They're filthy rich. And they're going to stay filthy rich. They're going to destroy the NHS, which is going to affect all the people that are voting for them down south. They're going to, the Bitcoin and the total, I'm just really don't want to talk about the game. Bringing in, cryptocurrency and stuff. They're fucking openly insulting you with what they're going to do to you. But as long, people like idiots like me keep retweeting stuff saying, but look, like all the guys that were in, they're racist and they're wife beaters and all that. These guys have said all these racist things, these councillors, and that, no, that's an advert for them. That's why people are voting for them. The racism is the fuel that is just letting people who are really depressed because of austerity and then Brexit, or voted for Brexit because that's letting them. I saw a tweet get flagged up to me the day. You shouldn't be in social media, I know, but you try to kind of get the temperature of the Rangers support. There's a guy that actually tweeted last night, any Rangers fan who isn't cheering on Hearts tonight is an actual fucking idiot. Now, I was kind of saying the same thing myself instinctively. I feel we're not going to win the league. It doesn't look like we're going to win it, so you want Hearts to win it. So even though Hearts winning on Saturday night would put Rangers officially out the title race, and I felt bad about it. I made a big point of how bad I felt, how treacherous I felt for cheering against my own team winning the league technically. I said I get that way of thinking, but somebody get back in touch with the guy going, look, I think Hearts have dropped points. If we beat Celtic, there's a chance. There is a chance. And the guy had retweeted that. That was the tweet that was going viral. He'd retweeted this fella. A Rangers fan had retweeted this fella saying there is actually still a chance. Saying this is a problem with your support. Idiots like this. It's critical thinking. Critical thinking is idiotic. Being able to analyse a league table and say, and look at football history and go, there's plenty of times where it's got a bit crazy. We'll win the league unexpectedly. This kind of thing could happen again. I mean, the fact that Hearts are top of the league at all should be a massive sign that things don't always go the way we expect. But no, this swathe, so many likes, so many retweets. This guy daring to think critically, daring to optimism equals progressive. Equals positivity is woke, positive, and woke is communism, is evil, is it? It's crept into your supports, that kind of thinking when it comes to it hasn't really. I'm just lashing out. It's different ways it comes out in it when you lose a big game. And the thing is, it's all kind of stuttering, stammering, boring garbage. So at least it'll get rid of the ambulance chasers. Jack Butler in the third minute of the game, he doesn't. It's like a volleyball dig. He has in his clearance, and you're thinking, oh, he's not looking good. But the fourth minute, we catch Celtic in the break. Chermiti drags it wide of the far post. That's a bloody chance here. There's tackles are flying in. Early doors, proper old school, we're up for it. Mentality, I'm thinking, that's your mentality and accusations about mentality. It's a whole new team, all new players. There's just no gelling properly. There's no mentality. Look at the dig they've got it there. I thought in the 8th minute, a totally scummy late stamp on Romans by Alistair Johnston. Ian Crocker had just finished saying Celtic couldn't beat Rangers or Hearts in the league this season so far, and I'd just finished thinking. In fact, I was still in the middle of thinking it'll just be like these bastards. They do it in the space of 6 days. They beat Rangers and Hearts for the first time in the league this season. In the space of 6 days, and that wins in the title. I was just in the middle of thinking that when we scored, we were up the park and we scored. It was a brilliant kind of move there. Big Emi Fernandez, as he tends to do, advancing up the park quite silkily. He lays it in a nice wee ball into Chermiti, who powers into their box, fires a shot off the shins of Scales, spins up, and then coming in at the left hand, just left of the left hand post on his right foot, Mikey Moore slashes it right across into the opposite corner of the net from about 3-4 yards out. That's it. We're winning 1-0. This is absolutely fine. Chermiti is absolutely terrorising Trusty. A great tackle by two Romans in the properly left back area, fire into somebody that he almost puts into the main stands, but cleanly, very cleanly. Two Romans, 14th minute, Tav, lovely crossfield ball for the wing onto Chermiti's chest. Absolutely brilliant piece of football. Brings out a great save for the goalkeeper. The ball goes back out to the edge of the box. In comes Mikey Moore, and he has a shot which is cleared off the line by something. I think Mikey Moore should just put some air on it, and it's going to go into the net. But it was blown for apparently Chimita's supposed to have handled the ball. I didn't notice it, but I might be a bit biased. Fernandez point blank miss from a Romans corner in about 16th minute. It was a foul anyway. Again, it's blown for a foul, but VAR would have had a look at that. Set piece headers. It was a Romans corner. Up goes Big Fernandez, and he's kind of like manages to head it past when he's about 2 yards from goal. And he's actually got to head it kind of sideways to miss the goal. It was a bad miss, but it wouldn't have counted anyway, apparently. 17th minute, Maeda is through on goal. He kind of barges Manny Fernandez off the ball, but he shoots wide of our far post. 19th minute, Chimita gets booked for a late lunge on Yang. It was a bookable offence. He catches his foot, and you're thinking, is that going to slow him down? Because he really was terrorising the Celtic defence at that point, the big man. And the 23rd minute, equaliser. Yang, as a couple of reverse passes, they'd get sick of trying to get past Romans because he was winning all the tackles down our left-hand side, and the right-hand side. So McGowan just kind of makes a bit of space for himself, and it's a lovely reverse pass to, who is it? They've got his Engels, and he reverse passes it back to the penalty spot kind of area, and Yang comes in, and there's only 3 Celtic players standing between our last defender and Jack Butland. There's only 3 Celtic players offside in the 6-yard box. One of them you could definitely say isn't interfering with play. He's past the goals. He's kind of a few yards in front of the posts towards the main stands. 2 of them a bit more interfering. And when you see the replay from like up the other end of the park, from basically from behind the goal we just scored into, so you can see the player looking down to us, square on the attack into our box. You can see the Celtic kit, quite distinctive. It's green and white hoops. It's all white, and it stands out in the sunshine a bit more. There's a shady part of the pitch as well. The shade's still there, and the stands causing the shade down there. So you can see Jack Butland with his orange kit on, and you can see how he's diving from one side of the goal towards where the ball's getting put. And you'd notice the fact that he's on one side of a guy in a Celtic kit, the guy who's standing nearest to him in the middle of the goal. And then you can't see Jack Butland's whole body because there's a big Celtic strip in the middle of it. And then Jack Butland's body appears on the other side. It's like the guy standing in the middle of the goals, right at the part where Jack Butland is doing what a goalie's supposed to do. He's concentrating on the ball. It's like a guy who knows he's offside, a striker who knows he's offside is still going to put the ball in the back of the net. But so using that as an excuse, Jack Butland's diving for it, so he obviously isn't unsighted. Isn't he? That's no excuse. It looks like he wasn't going to get to it. It does look like it wasn't going to get to it anyway. That's gone in the net anyway, but that's never really been the rubric by which you judge these incidents, is it? And I'll have to go back and look at what happened with that one that we had disallowed up at Dens Park in November for the exact same thing. We got disallowed for it was blocking the goal. But I'm 3 Celtic players I've said, I know, grow up, get real. There's absolutely no chance that they're not going to get it. This is Parkhead. So the idea of Hearts getting that penalty last night, Kizreris only gets brought down in the box by Mashwani, by the Motherwell player. It brings them down in the Motherwell box, but that's, Hearts would then have won the game, and that would mean they're closing in on Celtic. There's no way we're going to get in. And there was a VAR check. I think it's because there was 3 Celtic players in the box in offside positions for that one. That was standing right in front of Jack Butland. But yeah, you have to get through the kind of rigmarole, the performative thing of it. But it's Celtic at Parkhead. There's no way they weren't going to get that goal. Oh, I get it now. The negative thinking. You get beaten down, don't you? You stop believing. That's why folk are voting for reform. I get it, understand now. Celtic got their moments looking like they'll overrun us, having just equalised, but we keep them at bay. Like a team that's used to a kind of onslaught at Parkhead. There's a mixture of concentration, energy, digging, and downright solid skills from Rangers. We break the lines very well going forward. We're quite good in the break. We're lumping a lot of high balls up to Chirvity as well. So we're mixing we're mixing it up. I just feel we don't quite back each other up when we're getting in the box, like a team that's just gelling together. A whole lot of new players that are going to be leaving as well in the summer. But we look like we don't back each other up enough in the box. We'll have wee shots in the box, maybe rebound off somebody, or we've got somebody in the box that's got the ball and there's nobody right next to them, left or right, to lay it off to. There's no determination. Oliver Antman posted missing, but Follow up your teammates' shots. Track your runners as well when you're defending. That's a wee idea. 39th minute, Alistair Johnston's booked for a foul on Mikey Moore, which is a straight red every day of the week. He goes in there with the studs, lands it right on Mikey Moore's planted leg. He's got the foot planted. He goes in there and he lands it on the inside of his ankle. You see Mikey Moore's leg buckling like it's going to snap in two after it. There's a whole thing. He does touch the ball, Alistair Johnston, in between times, launching himself off. I mean, it jumps off the ground. But the ball is just kind of bouncing off his leg. There is no change in direction of Alistair Johnston's leg. He is aiming. He goes straight for Mikey Moore's inside. It should be a red card, and it's interesting to see stuff on social media and that, as a Rangers supporter myself, other Rangers supporters, so determined to get rid of Fanny Röhl, and this is playing into. He's done it again, 45-minute performance, but also kind of penny bastards got a couple of decisions today. When are we going to do it? That happens all the time as well. That's another negative thing that happens all the time. I'm not quite sure what way to go with it. It's split the negativity, but it's disgusting. Alistair Johnston's absolutely thuggish. He's got away with stuff in the past, we know, at Parkhead. No, it's thuggish as that, just fouls in the box, fouling. Rangers players in the box and the penalty not getting away. But it's the thuggery at the piggery. There's more chance of them getting away with it there. I mean, this goes back to when Neil Lennon did his whole hysterical thing about the referees are all against us to the point where the referees went on strike. We won the league that season anyway, but it was all about getting in the referees' heads, and we played them at Parkhead in the first derby of the season, in what's his name that scored against us in the Scottish Cup final for Hibs. And I'm getting arrested for punching an Elvis impersonator, Anthony Stokes. He goes in on. He basically put Papach out the game, just about snapped his ankle in two with a horrific tackle right in the first minute. And there'd been so much anti-refereeing stuff coming for Celtic that there was no way the referee was going to, I think maybe Willie Collum, was going to dare give them that. But we got a ropey penalty in the second half to make up for it, so that was fine. But that was pretty brutal. And it was the same stuff going on the day with Alistair Johnston, just back in the Celtic team. Filthy stuff. And is a yellow card was all he got for it. So Celtic seeming on goal just after that, just getting towards the kind of 40th minute, we scramble it away again. Some good last-ditch defending from us that has been going on. The 42nd minute is a foul on Antman. He wins as a free kick. That's the first time he seems to be involved. Tav over that right-hand side, wide of the box, taking the free kick, and he picks out. We did pick out. Giga gets to it at the back post. We've got so many options. Giga gets, and he heads it wide. He heads it wide. A lot of pressure from the Celtic defence, but it's more pressure from his own players. He's got Fernandez in there and Chermiti, and I think they'd been better placed if he'd let it go. I don't know if there wasn't enough talking to each other. It's another one but missed close range header from a set piece. We will rue these tracking our runners half time. You could take Oliver Antman off. He's been very, very quiet, and that would help Fanny Röhl with the he can't react crowd and the Rangers support. They can't react to stuff. He he's too reactive. I don't know how you put. I've never really got my head around that one, reactive or unreactive. But he can't spot when things are starting to go wrong. This is get rid of Oliver Antman, get him subbed off. Come on, make a substitution at half time while it's still one each, and it'll seem like he's doing that. Even though this is a game where both teams are kind of splitting the pressure, neither team's dominating, neither team's backing off, neither team's perfect. It's as evenly matched as the scoreline suggests, and we're drawing. It's all square, so there's no danger. Conversely, there's no danger, surely, of us, like as we did on Monday at Tynecastle, lulling ourselves into a kind of false sense of security. We're winning 1-0 at half time at Tynecastle the other night. Far less as we did when drawing 2 each at Ibrox, far less than the way we did when draw 2 each with Celtic at Ibrox in March in the last league derby when we were 2-0 up and blowing Celtic away and just came in the second half and didn't turn up at all. I predicted 3-1 to somebody on Jersey on Friday night, and we need for once, and unlike our other performances under Fanny Röhl versus Martin O'Neill, to make the best tactical and psychological changes or retunes or top-ups at half-time to make sure Fanny Röhl's not going to have this 45-minute manager jibe hanging over him again, maybe to the point of him being sacked tomorrow. No changes from Rangers at half-time. We come on the second half, and this is the bit where I can't argue with anybody. It's unarguable just now. It might just be a factor of... it might just be a function of new manager trying to get the best he possibly can out of a Rangers team that's doomed to fail this season because of the start we've had, because of the personnel picks and what have you. But there's no getting away from it. I knew in that depressed reform voting sort of way, doom mongering sort of way, when the way we started kind of dominating possession, but the way we started that second half, I knew it was going to happen. I knew we'd blown it. 46 to about 50. The first 5 minutes of the second half, we're in Celtic's half, but we've got no cutting edge. It's like we're lulling ourselves to sleep. We're too content again. Are we already? We aren't already getting thumped. So are these players so detached from what it's required to be a Rangers player that they think that's them proving their critics wrong by not getting pumped at half time at Parkhead? I don't know. But I knew that it was too tame, and the fact it wasn't Celtic couldn't get out their own half. They were just kind of sussing us out, and that's the thing of late with Rangers of late. It's moments where on paper we seem to be dominating that you can tell. No, they're not pushing it. They're not pushing for another goal. They're not pushing to take the lead again. They're not pushing to build on the lead that's happened in previous games. Even going to Livingston, where we come back to 2 each, we're too passive. We think this is just going through the processes here. It's like it's no real. It's like it's theoretical football we're playing, and we're doing it at the start of the second half. And that was 51st minute. Celtic got a corner that came to nothing, but that was it. It was all Celtic for the next until the game was won, really, and it just took 10 minutes. Flashes past Maeda at our far post, with Butland kind of diving that corner they got in the 51st minute, and be Fanny about after that in defence and start. We get away with it and manage to clear the ball, but the tide's turning. We look really untidy for no reason whatsoever. We've stopped playing again. In the second game in a row, we go 2-1 down after being 1-0 up because Tav doesn't get to his byline before an opponent, who then cuts it back for a goal. A good but avoidable finish from an opposition striker that we should be wary of. It was Blair Spittle cutting the ball back to Lawrence Shankland on Monday, and this time it's Dyson Maeda who's having the ball cut back to him by Kieran Tierney. And Tav, I don't think Tav was particularly to blame on Monday night for that one. There's a lot of other people who should have been doing their job a bit better, but something a fullback kind of cut out across from the corner of the pitch. It's pretty bad, and it was lamentable. And we've got Giga and Fernandez doing nothing as well, not tracking their runners, not sharp enough. It's a good finish from Maeda, but in it goes. And we're one goal down. If you were predicting it, you've been proved right again, particularly in the fact that Antman's only about this whole thing about not reacting, Danny Röhl not understanding what's going on in a game at a critical moment, and the fact that Oliver Antman's only about to be replaced now that we're behind. It gets announced. Ian Crocker tells us Oliver Antman's preparing to come off. He's going to be replaced by JD Gassama, it looks like. But before he gets a chance to come on, we're 3-1 down. Celtic, is it the 57th minute? Celtic even start chipping away at our aesthetic victory of the season with the overhead kick that Chimiti scored against them in the league game at Ibrox. Maeda has an overhead kick, which is it's fantastic goal from a Celtic point of view. It's kind of undefendable almost from a Rangers point of view at that point. There's not a lot you can do when a guy kicks the ball like that, but it was the build-up, of course. The ball's allowed again. Tav doesn't cut out the cross coming in from Celtic's left-hand side. Connor Barron he's at the near post, he's in front of the near post, and he connects with it. I don't know if it's coming in so fast, the cross. I don't know if he can be criticised, really, Connor Barron, for not getting a clean contact on it, just get anything on it to get it away. But it just kind of goes out to the edge of the box. And I don't think Maeda controls it, really. He's got his back to goal, Maeda. And it just sums up the way things are going. It is this kind of long. It's not anywhere near as fast or as spectacular as the goal we scored in the execution of the overhead kick by Chermiti. But as the ball went up, I don't think a lot of folk thought it was going to go in the back of the net. It seemed to go up into the air for ages, and I could tell that Jack Burton, not his fault, he's trying to cover the front post. He's not going to be able to get there in time. He starts watching it, and it all breaks down really slowly in your mind. And I'm thinking, I think that's going to go over, but it doesn't seem to have gone over just yet. And if that goes in, it's gone in. Aye, they're going mental. That's it. They've scored an overhead kick. That's it. That is the title there, basically. Aye, that was us 3-1 down, 57th minute. We started the half, one each, and we're 3-1 down in the 57th minute. 3-1 to Celtic was an optimistic prediction from me on Friday. We have collapsed again after a good start, and this time we're probably handing Celtic the title as well. And now we make the changes. It's too late again. He's just going to get criticised for this, Danny Röhl, but he had to do it anyway. But Sterling comes on for Tav. Sterling should probably have started, but you see the amount of set pieces that we were winning. We were winning so many set pieces and putting them on players' heads. Tav he's got that accuracy that Tav, if somebody else had been doing their job right in the opposition box, these set pieces in, maybe Tav would have won us 2 or 3 goals, assisted 2 or 3 goals for us, as opposed to playing a part in assisting Celtic in a couple of goals. Gassama comes on for Antman, so Gassama goes out to the right-hand side. He's better as a substitute, but he's never really that good on the right-hand side, Gassama. Oliver Antman didn't do anything. And as a guy, I was kind of calling for Oliver Antman to get back in the team. He looked like he was getting back to his best, of which we've seen far too little. And Thelo Asgard come on for Diamandi. Mo Diamandi was getting swamped, playing at that kind of 10 position behind the striker. It wasn't happening for him at all in the second half. So on comes Asgard. We do nothing for the next 10 minutes, and then Celtic take a breather for about 3 or 4 minutes, and we fanny about outside their box. But I'm just thinking at this point in time, Martin O'Neill's first Old Firm game was a 4-goal win here versus Advocate, and his last is going to be a 4-goal win here to make Danny Röhl equal Dick Advocate's record of 3 straight league losses. But it's Tynecastle again. We've dominated for a quarter of an hour, and that was all it took. Celtic just had to dominate us outright for 10 minutes probably in total to get the game won, and that's it. We dominate the ball again after that. 73, 74 minutes, we get a few corners. Majowski comes on in the 76th minute for Majowski. The midfield's been kind of held by Connor Barron and Thelo Asgard. Unusual position for him, but that's what's allowed to happen because we're 2 goals down now, and Celtic have put in the energy at just the right time. It means that Thelo Asgard's going to be left alone to try and pretend he's a kind of holding midfielder, sitting midfielder. And then 77th minute, there's a bit of a RAMMY. I was already thinking, I did that thing where I recorded. I didn't even mean to record. I think I set up a thing for Sports Scene to record all the time. We got that new Virgin Media system in. I think that was an update to Virgin Media. If you're anybody else out there still on Virgin Media. So you're setting up all your kind of recordings again, the things that you want the whole series to be recorded. Sports Scene, I like to record that. And it's recorded everything that Sports Scene's ever doing. So I got a whole series of championship games. I wanted to show the live championship games, and I'm on Tuesday night and a Friday night and that. And I was just sitting bored one day the other week, and I watched the game, or I just kind of fast forward through towards the end, really, to see all the fun at the end of the game that I'd read about, just in terms of the goals. Ross County losing at Raith Rovers on the last day of the championship. It was a Friday night, the last night of the championship, which meant 2 successive demotions for Ross County. Demoted for the SPFL Premiership last season, and they went down. They finished rock bottom of the championship. But getting into that last round of games, they still had a chance of jumping up. I don't know if they could get out of the playoff round. Maybe they were a chance of getting actually up into the third bottom, but they could certainly go up into second bottom. And they took the lead in the game, and then Raith Rovers scored a couple of quick, cracking goals into the kind of the latter part of the game. They're 2-1 down, and I think the news will be coming through that one of the teams, it was Morton and Airdrie, that were contesting it. Well, I think any of the 3 of them could go down, and one of them was drawn 0-0. I think it may have been Morton or whatever, and it meant that Ross County, they then equalised Ross County in 5 minutes into 6 minutes of injury time, something like that. They did equalise, a good goal. And I mean, if they got one more, if they pinched one more, and Raith Rovers had nothing to play for. They couldn't finish any higher than 5th. They were at the playoff spots, so it was a bit of a kind of dead atmosphere from their supporters. So they had nothing to play for. Ross County scored another goal here. They got another quick goal. That's it. They've saved themselves. They're not going to get relegated. And what they do is one player, in order to get the ball forward, kicks it. He's just like, let's get this lump put forward, and he lumps it straight into the backside of one of his teammates. and the ball bounces off the guy's backside to the point where it puts a Wraith Rovers player clean through and goal. Your friend of mine, Declan Gallagher, then brings down the Wraith Rovers player in the box. It's a penalty for Wraith Rovers. In we're already well over the injury time that's been allocated. It's going to be the last action of the game. It's an ex-Roth County player who steps up and scores the penalty, doesn't even celebrate because he's relegated them. And then at the end of the game, there's a massive RAMMY. And a lot of handbag stuff, but the Ross County players are. Somebody said something, they made a jibe about them going down, so that's it. They're all losing their rag and all that. And Stuart Kettlewell says after the game, that's great. Whoever's on that fight, whoever's on that desire, all that pride, you don't want to get insulted by folk, well, don't get relegated. Day it on the park, kind of thing. And I'm thinking the day, that's just, we have this RAMMY in the 77th minutes. Celtic being a bit nasty, about three of them gathering around one down. Was it Mikey Moore who's on the deck? And they're all running about him. Just trying to look tough in front of their own fans. Turoma's right in there. Turoma's looks like he doesn't take it. He's no happy at all. Turoma's at getting beat. He can stay. He's got what it takes, and he's right in there. Get away from our player. Now, Alistair Johnson seems to have done. I'll need to watch it back. I'm maybe overreacting, but something worthy of another yellow. But he's already on one, so he's not going to get another yellow. Tierney and Romans they get booked after it. The two left backs, but I just thought this is us. This is your kind of splits and post-split performances. Fanny Röhl has got us to this point, where we look like we can push for the title again. Just before that game against Falkirk, the 6-3 game. Yes, it's going to happen. Nothing's. All these obstacles. Falkirk scored 3 goals against us. We scored 6. This is what it's going to be like. Nothing can get in our way. And that's when Ross County equalised in that game against Wraith Rovers. We can do this. We're going to get another quick second. And the post-split has just been kicking the ball off the arse of one of our own players when we're trying to get that one goal, and it ends up being a goal to the opposition. And then to have the RAMMY afterwards, I'm sitting thinking, is this just too little fight, or is it? There's 13 minutes to go. Is it good that we're getting that annoyed, or is it's hard to make out? But I can't be laughing at Ross County with the Bay Rangers. No one in the league is like relegation for Rangers most seasons anyway, so it can certainly be equated with that. But there's a wee RAMMY, a couple of bookings, and that's at 80th minute. Giga again, can he get any power or enough direction to nod it to a teammate? He's winning a corner again, a header again, a Conor Barron free kick on the other side. We've dominated the last 12 or so minutes in inverted commas, but to no end whatsoever. We've got most of the ball, but we can't do anything with it. Gassama urges Yang to get off the pitch quicker. He's getting substituted. Yang, he's taking the slow time, the slow walk off. Like, on you go, get off, quick. And are we actually full of fighters? Is there actually a bit of pride here? Is it just performative? And idiot that I am, I'm still thinking, just like this season, if we scored a quick couple, if we got one here, we get another one, then we've sickened Celtic. We've got to the point where we're well out of it. So we could have the last laugh because, we've dragged you out of it. We've affected your title chances as well. But no, we're dominating possession, only in inverted commas. It's totally toothless. I see what Celtic are doing in this way. They're defending their box. They're tracking their runners and they're defending their box. They're bringing on a Uruguayan who used to play for Boca Juniors. That's the kind of stuff you want. Yes, the guys that come into the park thinking, fucking Super Classico. Is this your Super Classico? This is, are we Sunday afternoon out for 60,000 kind of pensioners? This is so quiet and so, what's the big deal here? He's got all the moves, he's got all the nasty stuff, the guy they bring on there. It's not a problem for him at all. 4 minutes of injury time, more toothless set pieces. We go down the right-hand side. And we pull the ball back. Chermiti hits a Celtic defender again. We get another corner. It's cleared. There's crosses from the right. Majowski heads it off the bar, almost the underside of their bar. It comes out, and obviously they're first to the ball. We don't have anybody willing to follow that up and throw themselves at it to make sure it gets put over the line. That was our last chance, really, to get a goal. Then you get a chance for another quick second, but that was our chance of getting anything out of this game or out of this season. Completely done. Even the thought of ending Celtic's title chances and have some sort of legacy effect on them going into the following season. Nah. Celtic are defending their box. There's no coup de grace on the break for them. I think they have one kind of breakaway that we deal with absolutely fine. So there's no hammering for Rangers in this, but the defender box Celtic like a team that's trying to get its first Derby league win in 7 Premiership clashes with Rangers, and they did, because all you have to do, as Hearts showed on Monday, is attack Rangers for a quarter of an hour, and we will give you all you need to win the game before then getting back to flattering to deceive. We will finish third. Rangers will finish third in the league this season. We're left cheering on Celtic in the Scottish Cup final so they can get us into the Europa League instead of the Conference League, as we will be if Dunfermline under Neil Lennon win the Scottish Cup final. We haven't even been able to stop Celtic winning the league to let somebody else win it. The new owners have taken us backwards officially in their first season in charge. They have to prove it's just that moment of stripping everything down to the point where the car isn't actually roadworthy, because it really isn't right now, before rebuilding it, pimping that ride to the max to be smoother than ever. Advocates' straight 3 league losses came in the October of the first season in Scotland where there was a top 6 split. So Rangers have never lost 3 post-split games on the trot. I doubt we've ever lost 3 post-split games total. We're now in serious danger of losing all 5 of our post-split games, and hardly anybody, never mind us, has done that before. We need to win both our final games to finish on the same points we accumulated last season when we were miles off it. You know what I mean? This is now officially a collapse. It really is a collapse. We need a statement tomorrow. There has to be a statement on Monday. The owners need to tell us why this is going to work, or they need to tell us Fanny Röhl is gone. I don't say that to be kind of dramatic. I say it to be repetitive, really. I said it on Jersnet on Friday, and in my own preview pod yesterday. I mentioned on both those podcasts that I thought either team could win this game 3-1 today. It was indeed us who lost 3-1, and I said that would mean a statement is required from Andrew Kavanagh, because the Blazers and the Brogues and the tie, if it hasn't worked for Fanny Röhl, he doesn't dress like Russell Martin. He doesn't seem to be vegan either, so that couldn't have been the problem after all. Who thought? Who thought? Fanny Röhl's post-match interview on Sky with Luke Shanley seemed very respectful. He wasn't having a go at the referee, Danny, because apparently he's not that kind of guy, and that is a Rangers tradition that I love to see our managers and our head coaches maintain. He agreed with Luke Shanley that it's a season where we showed that we can get into a title challenge, but maybe we don't have enough at this moment in time just to get it over the line. I suspect that's the line our owners will take, but I really ain't sure. A sacking of Fanny Röhl is just as likely. Institutionalised finishing second sometimes requires you to finish third to find one season to finally break through. So much of it is obviously about 2012 with us. I mean, Celtic were totally unopposed really from 2011 to 2021. They got a 10-year run at building up the tally of league titles they have just now. It's not their faults apparently, but there is a kind of sound general reason for not sacking Fanny Röhl. He was brought in to shore stuff up. We were 8th when he came in, and knew that we're up the top of the league. He's maybe a victim of the fact that this happens to us all the time. This seems to be we're always second. We always get close and that we're second, and it just falls away. But we've never really been that. We've not been this close for a while without actually winning the league, taking it to the. Technically speaking, it was the third last game of the season when we were out of the title race. That's what's happened. So we're going about just now as a support group. This happens all the time. I'm sick of this. We never win anything, and I think a lot of that's getting put on Fanny Röhl when he's just been here since October. It's got nothing to do with him, really. A lot of it. So there is an angle you can see where the owners will stick by him. There's an angle where you can see that is the very thing to do. And the reason the performances in these games have been so poor, so patchy, is just because he inherited a car crash, and he's got a different idea of how he wants to play the game, but he doesn't have the players there to play it. Particularly since his 4 signings in January started getting injured and stuff like that. So Celtic have put us out of 3 competitions, but that's their first victory against us over 90 minutes in 10 attempts. We've lost the last 4 Old Firm games at Parkhead. We've won 2 of them and lost 2. It's winning silverware. It's getting that over the line. That's like Celtic are like a fucking infection. You can't get rid of them. They just won't go away. They seem to be having a horrible time, terrible times, some embarrassing performances, but they're always just hanging about at the end. And there's this whole thing that I've been saying for years. I think the fact of Europe, Hearts not being in Europe, has let them. That's been a big factor for them in their first season of properly going for it under Tony Bloom. But also Celtic being crap in Europe for years, kind of shitting out of that while we go up. We're a quarter final last season. That's a different kind of glory. I'll take that instead of a League Cup or a Scottish Cup any day of the week. Getting to a European final beats winning the Scottish Premiership hands down. It really does. So that's fine, but there's been none of that. Rangers have been terrible in Europe this season as well. So that Danny Röhl does take a share of that. We've been awful in Europe, but Celtic maybe sacrificing that stuff in the past and still getting themselves over the line when it comes to trophies. I say they're going to end up beating Rangers and Celtic for the only times they've beat them in the league this season. They've only taken as many points off us as we've taken off them this season in the league, but they're going to win the league. It's what they're doing against the other teams. At least I'll get to complete another season of kind of perfect home attendance in peace on Wednesday, because it'll be very quiet at Ibrox against Hibs. I love the idea of Hearts actually winning the league. Hearts are the only team that could win the league on Wednesday night, and then they turn up at Celtic Park next week and get beat 8-0 because they're still pissed. They're still hungover. In fact, they're cracking cans open at half, on the park at the beginning of the game, because they've won their first title in 66 years. But that's the only amusement left to me this season. Fantasies. That's all I've got to kind of go on, because. And it's not even a complete attendance record. It's just competitive games. I usually judge it on competitive games, and I'll always miss pre-season friendlies. We only had two pre-season friendlies this season. Ibrox and Hampden. I don't miss Ibrox and Hampden. I'll miss usually on average one game at Ibrox per season. But the past few seasons I'm on a good run. That's the thing. I cut holidays short and stuff like that so I can keep up my attendance record at Ibrox. I'm not talking. From a position of I don't really care if we win stuff or no. I care more than you, who doesn't go on Wednesday night, who wants to shout stuff, who wants to put up statements about you're fucking daft to think we could ever win the league with this clown and shit. I'm thinking it through and covering all the angles because I fucking care more than most people, more than is healthy for me, to be quite frank. But I don't know why I didn't go. We played Middlesbrough. We played Bruges and Middlesbrough in the two pre-season friendlies, and I didn't go to the Middlesbrough game. And I was in here. I remember it. I was in here. I was in the house, which is like a 15-minute drive from Ibrox. I don't know why I didn't go that day. I had an idea that I was going to be doing something else or something, or it was just like I just need to get away from the football during the summer, so. Bruges was a list ticking thing. I hadn't seen them before Bruges, and they were a European finalist, so I was to get them off that list. That's why I went along to see them. But Middlesbrough I'd seen before, home and away. I've seen Middlesbrough, seen them at Ibrox, seen them at the Riverside. But I don't know why I didn't go, because I could have had complete attendance if I hadn't missed that one friendly. But it's maybe appropriate that the first game I went to this season was a friendly at Ibrox against Bruges, and the last one I go to this season will be a friendly at Ibrox against Hibs, because there is fuck all to play for us on Wednesday night. Aye, talk about Procol Harum, A Whiter Shade of Pale, a song I will never try to sing. It's this week I have been mostly listening to the seminal A Sailor's Life by Fairport Convention from their seminal Unhalf-Bricking album. The album called Unhalf-Bricking, Fairport Convention, A Sailor's Life. Check it out if you haven't. Get the headphones on, shut your eyes, and listen to the beautiful voice of Sandy Denny, but also everything that's going on in that song. It's the song that invented, and this might make you, it made me cringe as well for so many years until I listened to this. This is what invented British folk rock. This was the song the Fairport Convention did. They would cover Dylan, they would try to do American style, West Coast kind of folk revival type music, and it was 1969. They got together, they formed in 1967. And then the year Celtic won the European Cup, and then in 1969, April 1969, they recorded the album Unhalf-Bricking. In the middle of recording it, it's Joe Boyd, the producer. I put a link to this on the pod yesterday, of Island Records. He's helped them record it, but in the middle of recording, they do this gig and they say, hey, come on down and watch the gig. It was in Bristol or something, and he goes down to the gig, and he hears them doing A Sailor's Life. And this is when he tells them, you got to get it on the album, on Half Bricking. They're halfway through recording it, get it on that album, which is the best album cover. It's one of the greatest album covers I've ever seen, really. It's Sandy Denny, the beautiful lead singer. I'll never do it because her voice is so, it's amazing. It's a whole proper folk tradition type. So it's like Maria Callas of the folk tradition. It's piercingly beautiful voice, unbearably beautiful. So in the way she sings this song, A Sailor's Life, it's a traditional English folk song. You couldn't even. I could even try. There's no. You can't do a pub version of it because it's in pubs that it was revived and that's where it was sung properly. It's amazing. I wouldn't insult it, but she used to sing this song, A Sailor's Life, because she'd grown up doing the folk revival stuff, and she knew I think Campbell and what's his name, Ewan McCall and that kind of stuff. She would sing it on the van, Fairport Convention's van that was taking them for gigs and between gigs, and she would sing it backstage sometimes. And they would just think, this is great. This is what is this? This is an English traditional folk song, which they knew nothing about at the time. And they were the same as Joe Boyd saying, this is the same. They thought the same as everybody else. No, like, no, I'm not interested in folk song. That's so boring, folk music. But they heard this and thought, oh, fucking hell, this is amazing. So they obviously were kind of messing about, and they started, the guys in the band are playing like kind of rock tracks, backing it up with rock, and eventually they record it. It's 11 minutes long, A Sailor's Life. Listen to it. And it's one of those songs, it's got, now what happens is, it's their next album. It gave them the idea. This is the moment that folk rock, British folk rock, is born, because it gave them the idea. It was so good, they put it on Half Bricking, and then the next album, late in 69, same year, the year I was born, 69, the year Billy McNeil doesn't get picked up at a corner by Alec Ferguson. That is they then record Legion Leaf, which is seen as the seminal album, and that's the start of British folk rock. It's the greatest album, and the widely regarded as the greatest album, the Fairport Convention collection, the Fairport Convention catalogue, and I think it's seen as the greatest folk rock album of all time. And I've talked before on this podcast about, I've been getting into this over the summer, over the last few months, sorry, how the song, is it Come All Ye? It's a kind of call to arms, a cri de coeur almost. It's one of the most, it's a statement song, it's announcing a new style, it's embodying the new style, and it's kind of saying, this is, we're inventing something here. It's almost like Anarchy in the UK or something. There's more to it than just the song itself. It's really quite thrilling in its own way, but A Sailor's Life is where it happened almost by accident. They had this idea, and when Joe Boyd, the producer of Island Records, he sees them in Bristol performing this song, he goes backstage, he goes, you've got to put that on the album. And they're like, aye, do you know Dave Swarbrick, who is a famous, in the scene, the kind of folk scene at the time, he's a famous violinist, fiddler. He would do the old fiddling the old folk tunes. He's like, I know him, I'll get him along. And he comes along and he records it, and it's him and Richard Thompson, the famous Richard Thompson. They have a kind of, he's playing guitar, so they're kind of almost like dueling banjos, except it's a fiddle and a guitar. It's amazing. It is phenomenal. This song, get it on the headphones, shut your eyes, listen to it at night time. It's haunting, it's beautiful, it's very reminiscent. It's completely different, but it's very reminiscent. The setup and the kind of archaic lyrics and what have you, and the story as well as getting to you, as well as the music is so much, makes it so much more. And it's very like Cortez the Killer, Neil Young's Cortez the Killer. But Sandy Denny used to sing this to them in the back of the van, and there's a few other great tracks on Half Bricking. I love it. I've been listening to it the last few months, and it's beautiful. And in that same van, after they've recorded on Half Bricking, and that's out there, the 12th of May 1969, on the M1, Birmingham, come back from a show in Birmingham, and the van crashes. And their drummer, Martin Lambo, he's killed. And Richard Thompson's young girlfriend, she's killed. Martin Lambo was only 19 at the time. And the song that they learnt, A Sailor's Life, sung by Sandy Denny in that same van, is about eventually as a young man and a young woman die. And at the end, so that they get a new drummer in, Get a new drummer in, Dave Mattick's, and somebody else leaves the band because he wasn't getting used enough on Half Bricking. He doesn't like this style. They're kind of going down, becoming this traditional folk songs with a rock beat behind them, and that's fine. But they then, from I think it's October and November in 1969, they record Legion Leaf, which that's the legend. That's it, sealed. It's going to be absolutely amazing, and I don't know. That's what it is for. Is Danny Röhl the Martin Lambo he's going to go by the wayside, or is he any other member that wanted to leave or was made to leave Fairport Convention as they became what they needed to be, or is he the song A Sailor's Life? Is he the one aspect, the one facet before the change that empowers the change, that's going to be there after the change, that's going to be central to it? Because this certainly has been a fucking. I don't want to cheapen what happened before Fairport Convention. People died there, but this has been a fucking car crash of a season for us again, at the start and at the end, and for little bits in between. That song, A Sailor's Life, was absolutely on the right track, and right now we just don't seem to have our Dave Swarbrick or our Dave Mattick. Getting back into the title race was great. Hearts and Celtic were defeated spectacularly in January and February, but by October and November next season, like the recording of Legion Leaf in the same year as the recording of On Half Bricking, with all this tragedy and upheaval in between, can we, October and November next season, be in the middle of recording the album that makes us famous again, that makes us proud again, that makes us achieving again, in our element again? The thing that gets us up the top of the table under Danny Röhl. That's for our producers, Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Marathi, and their hired technical consultants to decide. Now, right now, I'll talk to you on Tuesday at the latest, folks, because there might be something else to talk about on Monday.